Hey, this was some news we love to hear as we head into the NFL Scouting Combine in Indy this week. Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud has committed to throwing at the Combine. I get it. It's not a real game. I'm excited, though, to see him put everyone on notice. We've seen him make some enormous throws in the biggest games. Now he says he isn't shying away from the pressure of the Combine.
Look at this logo.
Let's go ask Matt. Yeah, that's Matt. That's Matt Miller. Each of us gets our draft questions answered by our draft expert, Matt Miller. Mina, you are up first here. What do you have for Matt?
Yeah, I'm excited to watch CJ throw because he is such a great thrower of the football. It's one of my favorite attributes he has. But Matt, I do think there's a reasonable criticism that during much of the season, he wasn't great under pressure, didn't really flash the sort of second-level ability, creation, mobility we like to see out of our top quarterbacks. Then, in the college football semifinals against Georgia, he's like a totally different guy. So my question for you, he shows all of those things, including the mobility. My question for you is, how do teams regard this? The fact that for much of the season, we didn't see C.J. Stroud on the move, and then suddenly in the biggest game of his life, he used his legs to great effect.
Yeah, Mina, that's a great question. I think we always want to see best versus best. You want to maybe put a little more weight, in my opinion at least, when a player is going against an historically great defense like Georgia. And you're talking about CJ, and you're right. We wanted to see it for 2 years. Like, come on, use your legs. Get out of the pocket. Scramble around. You know who that reminds me of? Justin Herbert at Oregon. When they told him, Justin, do not run. You're too valuable. We can't lose you. And so he had to stay in the pocket. It was a big question. It's why he fell a little bit in the draft. I think CJ, it's a similar situation. He can do it. He just really wasn't asked or allowed to.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we talked to Ohio State around that time, they also mentioned that they had different receivers than they expected having at the beginning of the season, which I do think is a big piece of how their entire offensive scheme affected Stroud. Tim, your turn for a question. Go ahead.
Matt, I want to know why there seems to be this huge gap between Hendon Hooker and these top four quarterbacks that we keep talking about maybe going in the top 10.
Tim, I don't know that there is one other than the fact that Hooker tore that ACL late in the season. It was November with the ACL injury. I think that puts the timing a little bit off. But I'll tell you, I had a round one grade on him before that happened. I know he's a little bit older. He turned 25 in December, I believe. He throws a beautiful deep ball, though. And what we saw over the last 2 years at Tennessee since he transferred in for Virginia Tech was a guy who attacks down the field. He layers the ball beautifully. He throws a catchable ball, and he doesn't turn the ball over. So while we talk about Will Levis and Anthony Richardson being projects who have poor accuracy or turn the ball over, Hooker, I think, is ready-made. So as soon as he's healthy, I see someone that could be an NFL starter.
Dan, what do you have?
So last three drafts, Matt, the NFL has gotten this influx of wide receivers that have come in the first round and been impact guys. I mean, 3 years ago, Justin Jefferson, he's the Offensive Rookie of the Year this year. This past year, Garrett Wilson wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Olave was second. Who, or is a wide receiver in this class that can make an impact like these guys have so early on in their NFL career?
Yeah, Dan, I think this is more like 2018 or 2019 when we saw those first receivers come off the board in the mid-20s. Now, someone may go earlier. I look at Quentin Johnston from TCU, who's 6'4". He's probably going to run a 4.4 flat at 6'4", which is ridiculous. But he does have a little bit of a drop issue, 11.8 drop percentage throughout his career, but was a deep threat. With someone go away, Jordan Addison, I love the way he plays. I've comped him to Deshaun Jackson with his route ability and speed, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba, one of the greatest games ever in 2022 in the Rose Bowl against Utah. But this past year, he caught 5 passes for 43 yards because of a hamstring injury. So there are dudes this year, Dan. They just have big questions, I think.
Gotcha. When you look at the defensive players in this draft, you can't talk about them, Matt, without mentioning Jalen Carter from Georgia and then Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama, who everybody said was going to be a top 3 at least pick just a year or so ago. How do you evaluate those two players and maybe some of the discrepancies between them?
Yeah, I do think Will would have been the number 1 pick last year if he had been eligible to come out, but he couldn't come out yet. So now we see him this year. Laura, I think it all goes back to scheme. If you need a 3 technique to build your defense around, you draft Jalen Carter because he is a home wrecker at defensive tackle. We saw it when he came back this year. Once he was healthy, and he's just throwing guys out of the club playing defensive tackle. Will Anderson's going to give you more of that. Von Miller, first step quickness, the burst that he brings is unbelievably good. So I know we got to pit these two guys against each other. I actually think they're both great. They're number 1 and number 2 on my board. So it's really hard to choose between them other than it really is what your scheme dictates.
You know, I will say whoever gets chosen second out of those two is going to use it as big motivation. It is scheme-based to Matt's point, but those guys take that stuff really seriously.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.